just wish we had been given some guidelines, you know. All we know about our jobs is we're supposed to be married to one man and we're supposed to be the only one he's got. That's it. That's all we're told. So, but we know as children of God, we're supposed to be serving, loving, and giving, and all of those things. It's going to be a little bit different today. I want to talk to you about something that is heavy, heavy, heavy on my heart because it's something that we will all do. It's something we will all go through ourselves. And I fear that especially fear's not a strong enough word. I know we are not equipped to deal with the things we're going to talk about in the next few minutes. We're going to talk about navigating womanhood, how to help people. I'm going to give you things today to help yourself. Some of you have already been through some of the things I'm going to talk about today. Some of you are, how many of you are like, let's say 30 and under? How many of you are like, okay, there's a few. Buckle up. Let me tell you something, and I'll illustrate it in the last talk out there, but women, when you grow up, you know, from the time you're a little girl, usually you're a good mom or your grandma or somebody will walk you through the things that, you know, usually it's your mom. She'll walk you through things that are going to be coming through your childhood, through your high school years, your dating years, your college years, or your young adult years. Somebody's usually there to walk you through. Not everybody has that, I know, but I had a great mom who just, you know, I could ask her anything, tell her anything, and she cultivated that atmosphere. You know, just somebody is there to answer your questions, or at least, you know, even if they aren't great at talking, they answer you. They tell you what's going on. You get into marriage, and then, you know, at your bridal shower or something along those lines, you know, people start telling their stories, and it's all out of love. It's, you know, it's good. And then you have your first baby shower, and that's when the real stories start coming at you. I don't know why we do that. Why do we take a young woman and then we just tell her it's going to get bad? She knows it's going to get bad, okay? And then, oh, you think that's bad? Well, and we just pile on. But, you know, even those things, it's out of love. We do those things out of love. We want to try to prepare them. We want to try to help them. You know. And then something happens after that, and women stop talking to each other. We stop talking. And nobody knows what's coming for them after that. I didn't know. I had no idea. Yeah, well, after a while I did. I was like, wait, am I crazy or is it everybody else? It's everybody else. You know, you get to a place where nobody talks anymore. I mean, you know, if you have a good friend or whatever, you may share stories, but there's no other events in life where you're going to share things. And I'm telling you, have you ever heard of an 80-year-old lady turn her back on the Lord? No, right? Once you get to be that age, your faith is usually rock solid. But I have never seen a falling away of middle-aged women like what is happening today. And I'm using middle-aged loosely. You know, from, let's just call it right now, from 30, 35 to, you know, into 50. I've never seen it like it is today. And I do think social media has had a lot to do with that. Satan is so crafty. And I think that going after a woman in middle age is his last-ditch effort to derail families, children, grandchildren, just down the line. And since COVID, my husband and I have had 5 peer couple friends in their marriages. 5, which maybe doesn't seem like a lot to you, but it was like, at one point it was like, they're falling like flies. What are we going to do? You know, Satan is after you, and he's after the ladies that you will be helping. And we have to know how to defend them, how to defend ourselves. and how to defend them. And in order to do that, we have to recognize some of these things that are coming. So I want to talk to you just some points about this today. There's, in 2018, we had taken my father-in-law turned 80 that year. And so he had never been west of the Mississippi. And I said, Dad, we are going to take you west of Mississippi. He loves to travel. He always used to love to travel, and then he got older and he just didn't go anywhere anymore. And so I said, you name the place, we're going to get you there. And my husband has one sister, and I said, we're doing it, okay? Everybody, all of you involved, all your kids, everybody, we're doing it. And so my father-in-law said, well, the only place I've ever really wanted to go that I've never seen is the Grand Canyon. And I said, let's do it. So we all met there. My in-laws flew with my sister-in-law and her family, and the rest of us drove. And we drove to Waco, actually. Funny story about Waco, Texas. My mom was from Texas, and so I had been through Waco. Oh, it was the nastiest little town. Anybody ever went to Waco pre-Magnolia? Oh, I mean, nasty town. And of course, David Koresh and all that. So that was awful. Well, my senior class, I was in school in Panama City, Florida. And our class some of our class wanted to just take like a bus ride over into California, which did not sound like fun to me. I'd already driven it a million times, and I was like, that's not a trip. Come on, it's not a trip. That's what they wanted to do. So some of us said, well, could we just take the money we raised and have it? And they said, yeah. So a few of the seniors, I graduated with 28 students, and so about 15 of them still wanted to go. And so they took the bus, and guess where they broke down? Waco, Texas. I was like, thank God I didn't go. Anyway, there was nothing good about Waco then. But in 2018, we were driving through. Actually, I was driving through Texas, and we had left Magnolia a little while before that, and we were on our way to Arizona, and we got a phone call. And it was our neighbors, and they said, "Are you guys okay? What's going on?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine. We're just out of town, but everything's okay. What's going on?" And they said, "We thought you were dead. We had a macro burst of tornadoes come through our neighborhood, and so this was my car, and this was my husband's car, smashed, and." Look at me, I'm going, you can go to the next one. It's me, I'm going to the next one. Okay. That's our youngest daughter with the stump of the tree that did the most damage. This is across our front lawn. You couldn't even see to get in there. That's what it looked like that was our daughter's bedroom. Up there. That's the street that was in front of our house. Just complete power lines down. We were without power for 9 days. Well, I hope something goes away with that. But I said, we're not home. And so we decided, let's just stay on the trip. We're not going to be able to get in our house. We had a man from the church go and at least put a tarp on our roof. And it rained for 5 more days. It was horrible. When we got home, it was just, it was a mess. But the funny thing was, that happened in May, and just that spring, my husband had said, we should probably get some of these trees down. They're kind of looming over the house. And so we had 4 different companies come to look at the trees and give us estimates on what it would take to remove them. Every single company said, that tree, let's see, I can't get it down. Well, the big one, that'll never come down. That'll never, nothing can take that tree. That'll never come down. That tree is solid, it's healthy. These other ones, you should probably do something about that, but that one will never come down. That's the tree that came down. And as you could see, the roots were so tiny that when that wind came, it knocked them over without even any effort. It just and did so much damage, took out both of our cars. Some of our neighbors thought when they got to the front of our house and we weren't answering, they thought we'd been killed in our cars. And they were just, it was traumatizing. But we were all okay. I praise the Lord we weren't home because, nothing happened to us. But that tree had grown and grown and grown. And to my eye, it looked great. But to the eye of the experts, it looked great. But you can't see the roots. And if a lady has not put her roots down deep so that they grow out wide, when the winds of middle age come, she will be knocked over. And it will be devastating. And we're seeing it now more than ever before. I can't believe the women that I was in Bible college with no longer even want to have anything to do with church. Women that I thought would set the world on fire. Don't even want to go to church. Can't darken the door of a church. Can't even say that, that yes, God is true and real, and I don't know anymore. I just don't know. How did it happen? It's because the roots were not deep, but we couldn't see it. She didn't even know probably how shallow they were. So how are we going to make sure, first of all, that we're stable, that we're strong in the Lord, that we have deep roots, but we all help women. That's our job. We're supposed to help the ladies of our church. I remember I was just a young pastor's wife. A lot of stories from when I was a young pastor's wife that I did not handle in the best way. But a lady who was, she was about 45 at this time. I remember she went through a time where she would come to church separate from her family. And she would get to church, and she would come in the back door, and she would get a folding chair, and sit there in the back. We were in a VFW at this time. Our church was I was very young. And she sat there, and then as soon as the closing prayer happened, she was out the door, going home, wouldn't talk to anybody, wouldn't interact with anybody. And I remember thinking, that woman is so unspiritual. And she'd been saved a long time. We did not reach her. She was saved before she came to our church. And I thought, she just needs to get it together. What is going on? Well, now I know. Now I know. And if I had known then what I know now, I would have sat back there with her. And I would have said, let me give you a hug. Something's going on. I know you're not feeling well. I know you're not thinking well. Let me help you. I would have been there for her more had I known. So those of you who are younger and what we're going to talk about today hasn't hit you well, I hope that you will take this to heart because you're going to be there. Those of you who are my age and you're going through it, I hope you'll say, oh, I'm not alone. You can survive this. Those of you who are older than me, I hope you might say, I'm going to maybe be a little bit better at looking at the clues when someone starts to struggle. And then there are some women who don't really struggle. My mom could not help me very much because she had 2 cerebral hemorrhages, and she just went into instant menopause, never struggled with anything. It just affected her so bad physically. She never struggled with it. But I will tell you that when I got a little older and I started asking questions of the ladies in my own church, the vast majority of them took narcotics or take narcotics to get through it. And I said, antidepressants and all kinds of things. And I thought, I don't want that to be me. I'm not saying that can't be you. I'm not saying other people shouldn't go that route. I did not want to do that. I wanted to I figured if God could get me through all the things He's gotten me through up to this point, He can take me through this too. So I want to talk to you a little bit about menopause, navigating menopause, navigating womanhood. Hebrews 4:16 is there on your handout. Let's read that out loud together. Ready? Let us therefore come boldly unto the throne of grace, that we may obtain mercy and find grace to help in time of need. You will never encounter a greater time in your life where you need the mercy of God like you do when you are struggling in this time of your life. And let me say this too. I'm going to give you all the references today. We may not have time to turn. Did you like 2:20? Is that what time I need to be finished? You said like 40 minutes, and in my brain that's what I did, but now I'm doubting myself. Is that somebody yell it out to me? Okay. So I'm going to give you the references. We may not take time to read all of them, but I will give you what the references are so you can look these up on your own. How do you deal with it? Any embrace your station. Embrace it. You are in this time of life. The only alternative is to go to heaven. If you have not woken up and found yourself in heaven, you better embrace it. All right? Your station is the place or position in which someone is assigned to stand or remain. So you are here. Accept it. How many of you have heard of the name Millie Dienert? Nobody. A few years ago, we went to the Billy Graham Museum in North Carolina, and we were walking through, and it's a lot of photos and things like that, and I happened to see a photo about the size of my Bible, kind of low to the ground. So I said to my husband, I'm going to run over there and see who that is. And it was a picture of this woman named Millie Dienert. Millie had been raised by parents who were missionaries, and her parents decided that it would be easier for her if she stayed in the U.S. being raised by her grandparents. And so they left her behind when they went to the mission field. She thought that was awful. She wanted to be with her parents, but they just did, at that time, what they thought was the right thing to do. And so she let a little bitterness start creeping into her heart. And then even when she got into adulthood, she was still very angry and bitter over some of those issues that came from having parents who were not with her. And it was also about the time where people started really preaching this idea of you pray expecting God to give you things and do things. And it wasn't quite prosperity gospel, but closely related. And you just expect God to do these things for you, and He will. And if He doesn't, it's because you have sin in your life. It's, you know, and not because He just chose not to do it, because you can pray down anything. And that was kind of the prevalent teaching. And she said, well, you know, I prayed to go with my parents for all those years, and what did it get me? And she started really getting angry. And she said, Lord, I'm just going to turn all this over to you. I can't be the kind of wife, mom that I'm supposed to be if I'm hanging on to all this. My parents did what they thought was right in the moment. They didn't mean to hurt me. So I'm just gonna let you have this, and I'm gonna give it to you. And she started saying the phrase, stop expecting and start accepting. She said, God is not a lucky charm. He's not a rabbit's foot. It's not an ATM card. He's not just going to spit out whatever you want just because that's what you want. He's going to do what is right. And yes, He will help you with the hard things, but people are still free to make their own decisions. But she said, I can't just expect Him to, you know, God, I need $1,000. There it is. No, He may say, no, you know, we're going to care for this, you know, some other way or whatever. But I can start accepting what He has allowed in my life. You have to embrace it. You have to embrace it. You are here. Embrace it. That verse is Romans 5, and I will read this one, verses 3 through 5. Romans chapter 5, 3 through 5. And not only so, but we glory in tribulations also, knowing that tribulation worketh patience, and patience experience, and experience hope. Hope. Embrace it. It will be okay. Number 2, be mindful of yourself, your people, and your purpose. Again, if you're coming up on your 35s, your 40s, you are adapting this for yourself. If you passed it, you know, please remember this for those coming behind you. We need each other. 2 Timothy 2:24. You know what I should do is have each of you turn to a reference, and then maybe we would have time to read it, but I'll read this one. And the servant of the Lord, I'm in the right one. The servant of the Lord must not strive, but be gentle unto all men, apt to teach patience. Gentleness is not a word that is typically used to describe a woman in menopause. But we are supposed to be gentle. Gentle with all men. Be mindful of where people are. Be mindful of where you are. Take your temperature in every situation. How's your spirit? How's your spirit? And then stand down, which is a military term, but I can't tell you how many times I have to say that to myself. Stand down. You don't have any relevancy in this situation. You have no decisions to make. You have no authority. This is not your sphere of anything. Stand down. Somebody else will take care of this. Number 3, deal with your issues. Deal with your issues. 2 Corinthians 10:5. Deal with your issues. Casting down imaginations and every high thing that exalteth itself against the knowledge of God, and bringing into captivity every thought to the obedience of Christ. reinforcement until one day, 1 week, from Monday to Saturday, I kept track of all of my negative, critical, angry thoughts. The first couple of days, I was in the single digits, and I was feeling real good about myself. And by the time Saturday came, I had 30-something. And I thought, is it that I'm really having that many? Or I'm just maybe more aware of what is negative and critical? And I mean, it was a transformational week for me. But make sure that you know, you have your own. Imaginations are accusations you make against God and other people. And high things are things that elevate me. Things that elevate me. Yesterday morning, I was feeling so good about myself. I told some of the ladies this last night. I never leave home unless, my house is not, I'm not a super great housekeeper, I'll tell you that. I do my best and I stay after. But my house, if you walked in right now, well, I've been gone, so don't walk in right now. But if I'm gonna leave home, two things are done. The sink's empty and the hamper's empty. And if I come home and those things are empty, woo, I feel so good. So I was feeling good about myself yesterday morning. I even had time to go have breakfast with my daughter and grandsons. And I was doing great. And the tricky part was, my husband is actually driving here right now because tomorrow he's preaching in Temperance, Michigan. And so he's coming and then I'm gonna go with him. So I had to have two separate luggages because he was bringing the bulk of it. And I packed my shoes for today in the wrong suitcase. So all I had was my nasty airport shoes. And so I'm on the plane yesterday and I had a home alone moment. You know where the mom goes, Kevin! I went, my boots! And so I got off the plane and I called my husband. I said, my boots are in your suitcase. He goes, I'm so sorry. And I said, well, if you were to leave right now, you can make it here and I can have my boots. And Mrs. Brown so graciously let me run in TJ Maxx last night. But so these are not my boots, but praise the Lord, he had other boots there. But pride will get you. When you elevate yourself, God has a way of just saying, oh yeah? Let's just see. You forgot about this. You don't even know. You have no idea what's about to hit you. Now, boots are a silly thing, and had he wanted me to wear my nasty airport shoes, I would have gotten over it. But that's a silly thing. But what about the real life stuff that we just let mess us up? And then we start making accusations. I'll tell you when it hit me that I had a real problem beginning. It was a few years ago. All I'd heard about menopause was hot flashes. And I'm like, that sounds fun. I'm cold all the time. So, bring it on. And I see these women just, I think, I want to feel that. I'm literally freezing all the time. So, it would be great to be hot. And so, but I'm sitting in choir practice one day of all places. I'm just telling you, confess your faults one to another. I was sitting in choir practice one day, and somebody, who shall remain nameless for his protection, said something that really set me off. It was a correction to me, even though he didn't name my name. It was a correction to me, and everybody knew it. And I sat there, and for the first time in my life, I thought, I'm too old to take this. I don't have to take this. Who do you think you are? I don't have to take this. You ever had that thought come in your head? I'm too old for this. This church wouldn't be here without me, and you think you're going to say that to me? So, I got up, and I pretended I have a cough, and I walked out. Because I don't want to blast anybody, because I was this close. And I thought, I either got to leave, or I'm going to be calling down fire from heaven right here, right now. I had never felt that before. Had I been angry before? Sure. But I had never had that elevating of myself. I don't have to take this. And that was my first sign. Something is happening. I don't know what's happening. And those thoughts started coming more and more frequently. And then one day I just said to my husband, I don't have anybody else to talk about this like this, so you gotta listen, because I don't know what's happening. And then after that, I contacted a couple of friends who were older than me tell you, I was worried about myself. I thought I was losing it. And now, I look back on all the things that have happened with older women throughout our church's history, and I think, boy, if I'd been more compassionate, if I'd been more understanding, I didn't know what they were going through. I had my first hot flash in February of 2020. It was in the middle of the night, and I landed on the bathroom floor because that was the coolest place I could find, and and then I was like, wait a minute, is this hot flash? Because this is not fun. I seriously considered going to the ER. I thought I was dying. And I was laying there going, well, Lord, a few nights a week, usually my husband will have to sleep in the recliner to elevate his leg. So he was downstairs in the recliner, and I was upstairs in the bathroom because I didn't want to wake him up. And I thought, it's been a good run. He'll come up in the morning, and he'll find me. And if I felt like I could, I'd go get a note, a piece of paper. I could text him, and I want to wake him up. Well, God, thank you for saving me. I'll see you soon. I really did. I thought that was the end for me, and it wasn't. But I do wish I had not been so uncaring to women before. But I had those high things thoughts elevating me, and that was my first sign. There's a problem. Number 4, don't justify bad behavior. Don't justify bad behavior. When you are working with the ladies, how many of you have a ladies meeting once a month? Anybody do that? Oh, good, awesome. We've done that since day 1 in our church, and so I know their I can take their temperature at that meeting. That's my time to, all right, let's work this stuff out. Who's going to kill somebody? But don't justify bad behavior when it comes from you. I mean, nobody knew anything that day except my husband. They thought I had a cough. I was getting all kinds of cough drops before church. But I tell you what, if I had let it go farther, I would have had some serious apologies to make, because you can't justify that. The verse for that is 1 Peter 3, 10 through 12. Next, number 5. Have compassion on yourself. This is 1 Peter 5:7. We are always very quick to, or usually, oh, we went through a tough time, let me help you, let me pray with you. And then when it's us, we are very tough on ourselves. Have compassion on yourself. You are going to be, for those of you who are younger, every day will be something different. And the trouble is, when you go through the years of having children at home and then you get ready for the empty nest, you have a lack of purpose. You wonder if you matter anymore. And then you start to do things that aren't like you. And if you will remind yourself, I still have a purpose because I'm breathing. And I mean, there are a lot of people my age whose children won't even speak to them. I mean, you have women like that in your church. Their grown children won't speak to them. And it's not even over. I mean, look, I understand somebody's been abusive, somebody's been physically threatening. You have to have boundaries. But sometimes I think if I hear the word boundaries one more time, we're putting up boundaries because our moms took us to church. I mean, this is where we are. Adult children are putting up boundaries because somebody read them the Bible. I never thought I would see this day. But you have to have compassion on yourself. Have compassion with the ladies of your church. You don't know who's walking in the door that just got a hateful text from one of their grown kids that has to beg to see their grandchildren. And now I know what that's like. Oh my goodness, if I had to beg to see my grandchild, I would grovel. I would do anything. I would crawl on my hands and knees. I will make all the apologies. I will do whatever. But there are women who that's their life now. And we need to, and if that's your life, have compassion on yourself. Number 6, keep your relationships strong. And that verse for that is Proverbs 21:9. Don't make people avoid you when they see you coming. There was a lady in our church that anytime a woman got a haircut, they would avoid her. Because she always, this is what she would say. It's only hair, it'll grow back. And I would think, you have no idea the distance you're putting between you and some of these younger women. They wanted their hair cut. They wanted that. Who are you to say to them, it's less than par for me, I don't like that. We have such a distorted view of ourselves as women sometimes. If you haven't really and truly earned the right to tell someone, and really earning the right is somebody has asked you repeatedly, what do you think about this? Because usually the first few times I'm like, I better not give my opinion, you don't want to know. That's usually what I start with, you don't want to know what I think. But keep your relationships strong. I'm not promoting this movie, but how many of you have seen the movie Gone with the Wind? There's bad word in it, that's okay. But there's a scene where Rhett is at his wit's end. He's already got a little girl, and he just doesn't know what to do with Scarlett. He's at his wit's end to what to do with his family. And he goes to the town, loose woman, but she makes a statement to him that has stuck with me from the time I was a little girl. And the statement she says to him is, Rhett, the child is worth 10 of the mother. And I will tell you, in working with women in church, the vast majority of the time, I see the kids' faces. When I'm looking across the desk or a table from a woman who's struggling, I see her children. And I think, she's one thing, and I want to help her. That's one thing. But these babies, they've got to have a stable mother. They have to have someone at home that is going to be what they need. They have to have a spiritual person. Keep those relationships strong. Lastly, number 7, let God's mercy carry you. And this is Romans 8:26. Let God's mercy carry you. God will be so merciful to you in ways, during this time, in ways that you cannot even imagine. God created this time of life. He let it happen. I mean, it's Eve's fault. When I get to heaven, I want to see Jesus. I want to see Apostle John, because I love John. I want to meet Rahab. I'm fascinated by Rahab. Then I want to find Eve. I'm going to say, we've got some talking to do. Just one piece of fruit. You had to do it. You had to. Oh, insane. I'm going to read you quickly a list of symptoms. Okay, now again, if you're on the younger side, you're going to read some of these symptoms and say, you might say, as young as 33, 34, 35, you might say, I'm having that. I'm experiencing that. Am I in it? You might be as old as 60, 65, even into your 70s going, I still have some of these issues. That's why I'm addressing this. Because you're sitting there going, I've never heard us talk about a ladies' conference. I know, I'm really sorry. I'm sorry I'm the one. But it covers such a broad scope of women that we have to start talking about this. We have to talk about it. All right, here's some symptoms. You ready? Headaches or migraines. Cycle changes, that's a given. Extreme fatigue. Dry skin, brittle hair, and nails. Oh, maybe I can post them somewhere or something. Just listen, okay? Heart palpitations, hot flashes, as we discovered were not fun. Night sweats, joint pain, sleep issues, weight gain, or as I like to call it, redistribution of pounds. Brain fog, forgetfulness, dizziness or vertigo, inability to focus or think logistically, meaning stringing things along together in a process. Poor word retrieval, anxiety, impatience, low energy, no motivation, mood swings, insomnia. I took my shower this morning at 3 a.m. because I'm laying there going, well, I'm not going back to sleep. Let's make this day productive. Insomnia, weepiness, extreme weepiness. chronic UTIs, the thought life, am I the crazy one? Am I going crazy? You're not going crazy. And then, don't even think about touching me. That's a big step. Now listen, let me tell you, okay? This can take anywhere from 7 to 25 years of your life to get through. I'm so sorry. I'm very sorry. But I've had women, I had a woman just message me the other day. She said, I turned 41 recently, but every day of this last year, I have been crying. Am I in menopause? Yes, you are. Now look, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a medical person, I'm just somebody who's investigated all of this for me. I had a friend who went to the ER because she thought she's having a heart attack. He said, you're in menopause, you're having heart palpitations, it's okay. But 4 times she went to the ER thinking, this is it, I'm dying. These things are real. Don't live in fear, but it's gonna, your body is gonna take a toll from this. Your mind will take a toll from this. It can start affecting you, some people even in their middle 30s. So don't look at it like I did years ago and go, oh, that's something for 60-year-old women, I never have to worry about that. No, it can come on earlier than you think, and it can stay with you longer than you want it to. I will tell you what helped me, because as I said, I did not want to turn to narcotics or anything like that. But I read every blog I could. I still do. Any new symptom that comes up, I look for blogs because women will tell you what has helped them. Doctors don't know. They don't know. They're male, they don't know. But other women will tell you, this is what helped me, this is what worked for me. And you can combine supplements or things, and then, you know what'll happen? You'll take it for maybe 3 to 6 months, and then it won't work anymore. And you have to move on to something else. But whatever you're doing, make sure that you know if it's happening to you or not, and make sure that you can identify that. I don't want to see anybody derailed, and it's happening so often now that he's just coming after us in this age of life. Don't give him, if Satan can't get your soul, he will get your days. And if he can take as many days from you as he can, he will do it. And he will take the joy from your life. The joy of the Lord is your strength. So rely on the Lord. Make sure you are in the Bible every day. This is where you get your strength. The Lord living and working through you. It doesn't matter what health crisis it is, how long it takes. God will sustain you. He will give you the strength that you need. I know this has been very different. Probably way too practical, but I thought, you know, you're all going home to help scores of women, and we don't have this tool in our toolbox. We don't even know what's happening to us. So I hope you'll go home a little bit more prepared, with a little bit more compassion on yourself and other ladies. Let's have a word of prayer. Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for the chance to discuss this today, and Lord, it's so relevant. It's pertinent, and it's needed. And I pray that this will start some conversations with women where they feel like maybe they can get some answers, and to know that they're not alone. Thank you, Lord, for loving us, and we love you. In your name we pray. Amen. Amen.